Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Moon Bhattacharya, coming up in the next 30 minutes. American and regional diplomats urged respect for minorities in Syria after Assad's ousting. Blinken says United States is in direct contact with the Syrian rebel group. ABC News to pay $15 million to settle defamation lawsuit with Donald Trump. South Korea's acting President Han pledges to maintain stability. President Yoon vows to fight down after being impeached over martial law bid. Indian Parliament's lower house completes discussion on 75 years of India's constitution. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls upon the nation to adopt zero tolerance towards corruption. And Sri Lankan President Dissanayake begins India visit today to meet Indian counterpart Draupadi Murmu and also hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The United States and regional diplomats have called for respect for minorities in Syria after Assad's ousting. In fact, Arab, Turkish and European diplomats jointly briefed the media at the end of Jordan's meeting in Aqaba, which discussed recent developments in Syria. They agreed that the formation of a new government in Syria must be inclusive and should respect minority rights.
What matters is inclusivity in implementing the resolution. No exclusion or marginalization, so that all Syrians feel that this historical moment for all of them. As I said, may this moment lead, God willing, to a historic achievement.
Stability in the region is very important because our neighbors' problems today are our problems tomorrow. And therefore, I'm very glad that we had this meeting together with the international actors as well as the regional actors. Syria faces a hopeful but uncertain future, and that's why we all agreed on the principles that the new leadership of Syria should also follow. That is very important to all of us. That is stability, sovereignty, territorial integrity of Syria, but also respect for the minorities, no radicalization, institution build-up, unity of government that includes all the groups in Syria, and also accountability for the crimes committed.
Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, while briefing the media in Aqaba, Jordan, agreed that the transition process should be Syrian-led and Syrian-owned and produce an inclusive and representative government.
We agreed that the transition process should be Syrian-led and Syrian-owned and produce an inclusive and representative government. The rights of all Syrians, including minorities and women, should be respected. Humanitarian aid should be able to reach people who need it. State institutions should deliver essential services to the Syrian people. Syria should not be used as a base for terrorist groups or others who threaten Syria's people, its neighbors, or the world.
The United States has made direct contact with Syrian rebel group HTS, which led the offensive that toppled the Assad regime, according to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. It is the first acknowledgement of direct American contact with Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which the U.S. currently still designates as a terrorist organization. Blinken was speaking in Jordan after talks with representatives from several Arab countries, Turkey and Europe to discuss the future of Syria.
Yes, we've been in contact with HTS and with other parties. We have impressed upon everyone we've been in contact with the importance of helping find Austin Tice and bringing him home. And we've also shared the principles that I just laid out for our ongoing support, principles, again, that have now been adopted by countries throughout the region and well beyond. And we've communicated those.
India's government has safely evacuated 77 Indian nationals from the conflict zone in Syria. A sense of relief and joy is clearly visible on the faces of Indian nationals who landed in New Delhi on Saturday. DD India correspondent Prasar Bharati spoke to one of the evacuees at the airport.
As tensions intensify in Syria, the government of India has successfully evacuated 77 Indian nationals, and in fact some of them have returned home. I have one Indian national with me who has returned home today. Let's talk to him. Sir, tell us your name first.
My name is Rachit Kapoor.
Okay. To begin with, what is the atmosphere there right now, if you could describe?
See, when it started on 7th of December, the things were different. The conditions were panic. Everywhere there was chaos. But now, after the span of 1 week, the things are settling down. But the main issue is that because many type of organizations are involved, like STS, ISIS, and now we are seeing the involvement of Israel and other countries. So we don't know in what way this will go.
How relieved are you, on your own coming?
Very much, very much.
How are you feeling?
Very much. I am at home.
Okay. And what do you have to say about the assistance provided by the government of India?
Superb, superb. Because if there was no embassy in Syria or Lebanon, I think it was impossible that we have landed to our home. I will tell you, when we were coming from Damascus to Lebanon border, if I am not wrong, at 8 or 9 points, the tankers were on the road. People were blowing guns. We don't know, but the conditions were panicking. And it is all because of the embassy support of both of Damascus as well as Lebanon, that we are able to come down to our home. The facilities that were provided were at most very good. I must say it was excellent. It is all because of our Prime Minister, Pradhan Mantri Modi ji. Because of this thing had happened. We know the problems that we have faced, and it is all because of the Mr. Modi sir and Jaishankar sir that we have come back to our home.
There was the Indian national who returned home. A sigh of relief is clearly visible on his face. He thanked the Indian government and also Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. With camera person Anand Kashyap, this is Prasar Bharati reporting for DD India in New Delhi.
Israel's Army Chief Herzi Halevi visited troops operating in the UN-patrolled buffer zone that separates the Israel-annexed Golan Heights from Syria. In fact, the Israeli Defense Minister, Israel Katz, ordered the military to prepare to remain throughout the winter in the zone and the summit of Mount Hermon. Israel seized the demilitarized area on the strategic plateau just hours after Syrian rebels swept President Bashar al-Assad from power. Meanwhile, thousands of Israelis took to the streets for a deal to release the remaining hostages still held in Gaza after more than 14 months of war against Hamas in the Palestinian territory. There has been guarded optimism in recent days that a ceasefire and hostage release deal for Gaza might finally be within reach after months of abortive mediation efforts. South Korea's acting President Han Duck-soo spoke with US President Joe Biden by phone. Prime Minister Han became South Korea's assumed acting president after Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment. During the call, Biden reiterated United States' commitment to the US-South Korea alliance, saying that it remains ironclad and unchanged. He added that the US will work with South Korea to further develop and strengthen the alliance as well as trilateral cooperation among South Korea, Japan, and the United States. While during his visit to Jordan, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said South Korea has shown the strength of its democratic institutions after impeaching President Yoon Suk-yeol.
And on events in South Korea and President Yoon. Look, I think the most important thing is that the Republic of Korea has demonstrated its democratic resilience. We've seen it follow peacefully a process laid out in its constitution. And we're ready to work with President Han as he assumes office. Most important, we strongly support the Korean people. We strongly support the ironclad alliance that joins our two countries together and that's done so much over the last few years.
South Korean President Yoon Yeol vowed on Saturday to fight for his political future after he was impeached in a second vote over his short-lived attempt to impose martial law. The Constitutional Court will decide whether to remove Yoon sometime in the next 6 months. If he is removed from office, a snap election will be called. The impeachment motion was carried as at least 12 members of Yoon's People Power Party joined the opposition parties, which control 192 seats in the 300-member National Assembly, clearing the two-thirds threshold needed. The number of lawmakers supporting impeachment was 204, with 85 against, 3 abstentions, and 8 invalid ballots. Appointed by Yoon, acting President Han Duck-soo chaired a National Security Council meeting and urged the country to maintain a watertight readiness posture to ensure North Korea could not plan any provocations. Shifting focus to the United States, where President-elect Donald Trump has picked his former intelligence chief Richard Grenell as his presidential envoy for special missions. Trump announced the move on his Truth social media platform, saying Grenell would work in some of the hottest spots around the world, including Venezuela and North Korea. Trump also named his ally Devin Nunes, a former U.S. lawmaker who now runs Trump's Truth social media platform, to serve as chairman of President's Intelligence Advisory Board. Nunes is a longtime Trump defender who led the U.S. House of Representatives Intelligence Committee during part of Trump's first White House term. As committee chair, Nunes alleged that the FBI had conspired against Trump during its investigation of Russian interference in the 2016 presidential elections, in which Trump defeated Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton. The President's Intelligence Advisory Board is a White House panel that offers the President independent assessments of intelligence agencies' effectiveness and planning, though he will remain Truth Social CEO while serving on the advisory panel. ABC News has agreed to give $15 million to Donald Trump's presidential library to settle a lawsuit over comments that anchor George Stephanopoulos made on air, involving the civil case brought against Trump by writer E. Jean Carroll. The lawsuit, filed on the 19th of March in U.S. District Court in Southern Florida, accused Stephanopoulos of making the statements with malice and a disregard for the truth. It said the statements were distributed widely to third parties and repeated. The lawsuit cites a March 10 interview with U.S. Representative Nancy Mace, a Republican who has spoken publicly about being raped as a teenager. According to the settlement, ABC News must publish by Sunday a statement at the bottom of a March 10 online article that accompanied the interview. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the world. At least 5 immigrants died and many went missing after their boat capsized off Greece's southern island of Gavdos on Saturday. Till now, 39 men have been rescued by cargo vessels. Rescue and search operation is still underway by merchant vessels and naval aircraft. The founder and owner of global clothing chain Mango, Isaac Andic, died on Saturday in a mountain accident. Police said that the 71-year-old businessman slipped and fell over 100 meters from a cliff while hiking. The personal writings and remembrances of France's World War II General de Gaulle to be auctioned in Paris on Monday. Personal items, including the R27 wristwatch worn by Gaulle during 1960s, which estimated to fetch up to 10,000 euros. Along with this exhibition will also have original manuscript of the Appeal of 1940 written by General in London during the Second World War. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. India sends humanitarian assistance to Jamaica for disaster preparedness against hurricanes. And India's Jasprit Bumrah provides the first breakthrough on day 2 of the 3rd Border Gavaskar Trophy Test at Brisbane.
So we begin our journey exploring the factories where cricket gear is made, uncovering the process that has made Meerut famous worldwide.
Meerut was one area which was allocated for sports industry.
They have done very well, they are making a cricket bat, cricket ball, RB pads, leather goods.
All around the world, they get their bats made in India. So you can imagine the kind of work they put in, and it's not an easy job.
There is a lot of hard work, a lot of craftsmanship, a lot of precision that goes inside the product.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live with me, Munman Bhattacharya. Sri Lanka's President Anura Kumara Dissanayake will begin his India visit today, marking his first overseas visit after assuming office. President Dissanayake will be accompanied by Sri Lanka's Foreign Minister Vijitha Herath and Deputy Minister of Finance Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma. During the three-day visit, President Dissanayake will meet his Indian counterpart Draupadi Murmu and also hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other high-ranking officials. India has dispatched a fresh consignment of around 60 tons of emergency medical equipment, generators and other utilities to Jamaica. Sharing details of the humanitarian assistance, the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson said that this assistance will support the country's healthcare needs and rehabilitation of medical infrastructure as well as strengthen the disaster preparedness against hurricanes. Indian Parliament's lower house, Lok Sabha, concluded the debate commemorating 75 years of Indian Constitution on Saturday. There was participated by leaders from all political parties, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Leader of Opposition Rahul Gandhi. Summing up the debate, Prime Minister Modi made fervent appeal to adopt zero-tolerance approach towards corruption and keep intact the respect for Constitution. Rajya Sabha, the upper house, will resume the debate on Monday.
Highlighting important amendments brought by his government to keep the unity of India intact, Prime Minister said his government is committed to implement Uniform Civil Code as it reflects the vision of the founding fathers of the Indian Constitution.
समान नागरिक संहिता, यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड, ये विषय भी संविधान सभा के ध्यान बाहर नहीं था और उसी संविधान की भावना को ध्यान में रखते हुए, संविधान निर्माताओं की भावनाओं को ध्यान में रखते हुए हम पूरी ताकत से लगे हुए हैं सेक्युलर सिविल कोड के।
Prime Minister highlighted the steps taken by NDA government to bring unity in the country through various schemes and initiatives. He said Article 370 was abrogated in Jammu and Kashmir and one nation, one tax has been implemented in the country.
आर्टिकल 370 देश की एकता में रुकावट बना पड़ा था, दीवार बना पड़ा था। देश की एकता हमारी प्राथमिकता थी, जो कि हमारी संविधान की भावना थी और इसलिए धारा 370 को हमने जमीन पर काट दिया।
On the country's rapid economic expansion, the Prime Minister said India is committed to become a developed nation and it will become a third largest economy in coming years. Lauding the glorious journey of the Indian Constitution during the last 75 years, Prime Minister stressed on the contribution of women in framing the Constitution.
मौलिक चिंतन के आधार पर उन्होंने संविधान सभा की डिबेट को समृद्ध किया था और वे सभी बहनें अलग अलग बैकग्राउंड थी, अलग अलग क्षेत्र की थी और संविधान में उन्होंने जो जो सुझाव दिए उन सुझावों का संविधान के निर्माण पर बहुत बड़ा प्रभाव रहा था.
Taking a dig at the Congress party, Prime Minister said it left no stone unturned in attacking the spirit of Indian Constitution during one family rule for 55 years. He said when the Constitution was completing its 25 years, an emergency was imposed by the Congress and the constitutional rights were denied.
जब देश संविधान के 25 वर्ष पूरे कर रहा था, उसी समय हमारे देश में संविधान को नोच लिया गया, इमरजेंसी आपातकाल लाया गया संवैधानिक व्यवस्थाओं को समाप्त कर दिया गया, देश को जेल खाना बना दिया गया, नागरिकों के अधिकारों को लूट लिया गया।
Prime Minister concluded his speech with 11 resolutions focusing on fundamental duties, zero tolerance on corruption, respect for constitution and women-led development. Vishal Barrister's report for DD India.
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news today. A multi-speciality health camp was organized in Srinagar aiming to provide quality healthcare services to the local community. The camp featured specialists from various medical fields offering free consultations, diagnostic services and treatment to residents. Hundreds of patients, including women, children and elderly individuals, benefited from the initiative, which also included awareness sessions on preventive healthcare. Industrialists from India and abroad gathered in Ayodhya to celebrate the monumental construction of Ram Temple, marking the culmination of years of efforts to rebuild the iconic temple. The grand event has attracted widespread attention, highlighting Ayodhya's transformation into a center of cultural and spiritual significance. Tourists from across the country are drawn by the allure of snowfall, fueling optimism of Shimla. Hotels, cafes and shops in Shimla are witnessing increased footfall, with tourism operators anticipating a booming season ahead. The toy train ride, winding through lush pine forests and snow-covered hills, remains a favorite among visitors. From scenic views to vibrant winter markets, Shimla offers an ideal escape, sparking hope for a robust revival of the local economy. On to sports news now. Day 2 of the third test match between India and Australia got underway after rain played spoil sport on day 1. India got off to an impressive start in the first session as star bowler Jasprit Bumrah dismissed the opening pair of Usman Khawaja and Nathan McSweeney. Khawaja, who was looking good, got caught behind, while McSweeney handed a catch to Virat Kohli in the slips. Later, Nitish Reddy dismissed Marnus Labuschagne for just 12 runs. Earlier on day 1, only 13.2 overs of play were possible due to rain after Rohit Sharma put Australia into bat. India is set to clash with China in the final of the Women's Junior Asia Cup on Sunday after beating Japan 3-1 in the semi-finals. India started strong in the first quarter, capitalizing on early opportunities. Japan responded in the second quarter, narrowing the deficit. The third quarter saw both teams fight hard without finding the net. In the final quarter, a crucial save by captain Jyoti Singh in the 48th minute kept India's lead intact. India's defence remained resolute, denying further attempts to seal 3-1 victory. The Indian team will carry this momentum into the final as they seek to defend their title successfully. Arsenal missed the chance to close the gap on Premier League leader Liverpool after a frustrating goalless draw against Everton at home. Arsenal dominated possession but lacked their usual intensity. Arsenal strikers could not find a way past Everton goalkeeper Jordan Pickford, who was on top of his game. Despite creating several opportunities, Mikel Arteta's side failed to capitalise on Liverpool's earlier 2-2 draw with Fulham. Arsenal remain third on the table with 30 points from 16 games, 6 points behind Liverpool and 1 point adrift of second-placed Chelsea. Meanwhile, Everton sits at the 15th spot with 15 points. And before we leave, let's take a look at an army of over 1,000 Santas dressed in Santa suits with faces painted green and cycling down on central London on Saturday. This event marked the 10th edition of the annual Santa Cruise, which aims to raise funds to support children's charity. India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platforms. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but do share your thoughts with us on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. This is Blinken from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.